So almost everyone now understands and believes that Tesla is the clear leader in electric vehicles, with the Chinese auto manufacturer BYD as a close second, or even one day surpassing Tesla in volume. But why exactly are Tesla and BYD able to build electric vehicles not only at scale, but also with margin and industry-leading features? Today, we're going to review research from Stratus Advisors, who has analyzed the strategies of legacy car manufacturers in various elements, like investments in mining and batteries, long-term contracts for raw materials, investments in cell manufacturing, development of EV charging infrastructure, and global expansion efforts. Let's see who's leading and who's falling behind fast. We've got Hans Nelson joining us. He's got his own YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. Check him out. He's going to help us understand this research a little bit more. Thanks, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
Take a look at this research from Stratus. It's full of information. It's a little complicated for me. A lot of it seems to be associated with battery supply chain issues. So this is a research. Basically, it was done in May, so it was a few months old now. But it was important to dig deeper into kind of why BYD and Tesla dominates and how they're doing it. So they basically looked at the OEM strategies in all segments of electric vehicle supply chains. They're going to see how they, as compared to each other in these 5 key elements. I've mentioned it. Upstream investments, who's investing in the battery raw materials, who's got long-term contracts to supply them with these raw materials with third parties, who's investing in cell manufacturing. We know that BYD does that, and that's one of their advantages. The development of branded EV charging infrastructure, of course, that's a supercharger that everybody's partnering with. And then global expansion. Who's got plans to be got supply for global expansion? And then basically what they're saying is, based on 2022 sales, BYD and Tesla remain leaders in EV supply chain localization. BYD slightly outpacing Tesla, primarily because of its investments in the upstream operations and cell manufacturing, offsetting Tesla's better positioning in the sourcing of raw materials from third parties and the development of their own charging infrastructure. This is Alexandra Merz pointed out. She's got really good finger in the pulse of kind of all these new research that's out there. Check out her X account at Tesla Boomer Mama. And so these are the 5 that we just talked about. So let me take a look at this chart. This is the 5 and how they rank. You can see BYD says upstream investments, global expansion, and cell manufacturing. I'm shocked that Tesla has global expansion, great, long-term contracts, but no cell manufacturing. Come on, that's what 4680 is, and no upstream investments. That seems low. And then, but if you compare to all the other competitors, they're tiny compared to BYD and Tesla. What's your research, or what's your takeaway from this?
So my interpretation here is that the furthest point out there on the graph, if you wanted to just leave that up, that is the leader in the industry. And I think that the reason that BYD is the leader in the industry as far as cell manufacturing is just because they are fully vertically integrated on cell manufacturing. So they're not using CATL cells or cells from LG or Samsung or any of these other manufacturers. And so while Tesla does manufacture the 4680 cell, and they have their deals also with Panasonic and with CATL, so the fact that they do consume cells from other companies and they're not 100% fully integrated or fully vertically integrated on battery cell manufacturing is why Tesla comes in a little bit behind BYD on that front. But then obviously Tesla's the world leader in charging infrastructure. They have a much larger global footprint right now than BYD does. Although BYD does have, quite strong, they're pushing into Europe and their expansion plans are large. They are working on globalizing their supply chain. And then I'm not totally an expert on how the raw material supply contracts all work and their scoring there. But one of the things that I would say that I kind of disagree here with the analysis that Stratus has done is that I think that there are really 2 different ways that you can be extremely competitive in the automotive manufacturing landscape, and really the landscape of almost any difficult to manufacture product. And one of them is to be the technology leader, and then to drive down costs using the leverage provided by technology. And then the other one is to be the low cost leader. And so I think that's the reason personally why Tesla and BYD are the two leading companies, and the two companies that people expect moving forward, is that BYD has figured out how to manufacture vehicles at high scale with low cost. And they're not doing that based on their superior manufacturing technology or anything. They are doing that through just the hard work of supply chain excellence and then low labor costs. And then they do employ a lot of manual laborers. Their automation is very low, and so that's their way, and they still have room to scale using that method, and they can outcompete other manufacturers, especially from other companies, because or not from other companies, but from other countries, because other countries have higher labor costs. Um, and so whoever is, there's a lot of competition inside of China from other people that do have equally good low cost access to labor, maybe equally good access to supply chain. But in that realm of competition, whoever ends up being the best of the Chinese manufacturers will probably end up being the best low cost automotive manufacturer. And currently it looks like that's going to be BYD. And then Tesla's coming down from the high end of the market with just extremely amazing innovations in how to build cars. BYD is building cars the same way that people have been building cars forever. They've figured out how to adapt that to EVs in a manual manufacturing process pretty well. Um, but then Tesla is continuing to innovate on not only what are the processes that are used to make, whether it's gigacastings or the unbox process, these types of things, but also the technology in the car as well. So, I mean, that's my take, and it's a little bit different than Stratus's take. But
Yeah.
we'll see, I
I
guess,
mean,
as time plays out,
yeah.
which one
Whoever's
really.
committed, whoever committed to electric vehicle future, they're going to get the volume, but they're already investing in upstream
Yep.
investment in the cell manufacturing and so forth. Obviously, this article, this research was done in May, so they don't know what happened to Ford and GM and what they made announcements, and Volkswagen cutting a third of their employees. And so this is kind of what they saw in May. But then they say, well, okay, despite their increased efforts, all other OEMs lag very far away from BYD and Tesla. Volkswagen is third largest EV brand after BYD and Tesla. They have a strong global presence. They have plans to roll out fast charging. Volkswagen's overall score is primarily supported by cell manufacturing. Again, all of this was old news, and they all suffered badly with all that. And then GM is the fourth largest EV, and strong positioning in their scorecard as well. But again, this is old news. So this is a beautiful table that I saw as well. I think this might just be Europe. It's a different research, but it showed the car maker's position in the global battery supply chain race. And here you've got Tesla leading, Volkswagen next, and BYD third. They looked at raw material supply chain, battery cell strategy, and responsible practices. So I just wanted to, of course, they added sustainable practices as part of their index.
Yeah, that one made me chuckle. It's like, here, let's give extra points to the companies that we like, even though they suck.
But anyway, so just interesting to see another research. Transport and environment sounds like a government entity. But this one, I love this table. So when I interviewed Corey Steuben of when he was still with Monroe and Associates, he said that one of the reasons why cost, the auto manufacturers are difficult margins is because they produce too many trims, too many car models. You got Geely making 25 different models, Stellantis at 20, Volkswagen 19, and then you got BYD here 14, and Tesla does not even appear here. I mean, how many models would you say Tesla has?
I mean, probably at the time of this research, I guess we would have to say 4 because Cybertruck wasn't delivered until the 30th. And, it's not really, it'll be next year when it's really getting ramped up. So 4, maybe 5, if you want to go ahead and put Cybertruck in there. I'm not going to count Semi until we start seeing the next wave of production rolling out for semis. I mean, that's really just a beta test group that's out there for semis right now. But it's interesting that, BYD comes in kind of right in the middle, not too few, not too many. And I think this is one of the reasons why people do expect BYD to go ahead and over time eat up a lot of market shares because they don't believe that 4 or 5 models is going to be
Yeah.
enough. Obviously, Tesla
Not.
plans to roll out additional models as well, but they're never going to have as many as BYD. And that's partly because, the more manual the manufacturing process is, the easier it is to add some variation. The more automated it is, the more difficult that is. And so I expect, Tesla to and BYD, like we've talked about all episode long, to really be the leaders in that. And I think the fact that BYD has more, but not that many more, versus a Volkswagen or a Geely, that really shows some restraint on their part. So they have one of the biggest supply chains, and then a relatively constrained number of vehicles that they're putting out, and so that's helpful for them. And I don't know if that the intent of that chart was to show that maybe Geely's ahead because they have the most models available. For us, it kind of looks the
Right.
opposite. But
Yes.
it's almost like that entire chart was designed specifically to keep Tesla off of leaders in EV chart. Um, and yeah,
Good point.
number of models is
Good
absolutely
point.
a silly metric to look at if you're trying to decide who is going to win the market. It's actual volume sold is the thing that matters. And so, yeah, like Geely, they're not an insignificant EV competitor, but they're nowhere on the map when it comes to leaders in EV.
Yeah, very good point. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your evaluation of everything. Follow Hans on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks, Herbert.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.